Oh, right. Yeah, you have like a, yeah, that's right. If you've scheduled it, you have like a
Yeah,
time limit. Yeah.
yeah, it just gets funny. So, hello, lovely ladies. Um, we're just getting ourselves a wee little bit organized here. This is a little sneak peek for a little sneak peek and a little bonus content for you guys for our summit that's coming up this Sunday, August 29th, I think it is. Am I right, Galen? Yeah.
That's right,
So
29th.
we're just waiting. Oh, there's Siobhan. Okay, Siobhan, I'm going to bring you in here too. There we go. Now we got all three of us. Okay, so we just want to tell you guys about what's coming up because this is going to be a super fun event, and like I say, I've got just a few little bonus pearls for anybody who happens to watch this live, just to make it worth your while to come and hang out with us here today. So maybe I'll get you first to introduce yourself, Galen, just because you're the person who has been the mastermind of this event and pulled it together so quickly. And I would just love it if you would tell everybody why you're doing this work and what it's all about for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I joked in a post the other day that I'm not a doctor and I don't play one on TV, but I am a financial planner in Canada who helps a lot of physicians with their finances. And the reason I do that is my dad is a physician. I grew up watching him struggle, to get good advice around his finances and to understand how to use his corporation. And so much so that when I was a kid, at one point, my dad was having a conversation with someone. Someone asked me, "What does your dad do?" And I said, "My dad's in construction." And my dad, the nephrologist, kind of looked at me. I was like, "Why? I'm not in construction. I'm a doctor. Why do you think I'm in construction?" And I said, "Well, every day after school, you pick me up and you take me to this stinky old building and you put on a hard hat and you walk around and you point at things that need to be fixed." And what I didn't know at the time as a kid was that he was in with some other friends, other physicians, building like an apartment complex to try to have that be a retirement fund, like kind of create his own pension. And that ended up not working. He only broke even. And I'm not saying that that's true for everyone, but in his case, this was the case. And he shared this with me years later. And so that's why I did that. And then recently I asked my dad, I said, "Look, I love helping people with their finances, but I also understand there's more to life than just finances. How else do you think I could be supporting physicians?" And my dad said to me, he said, "I think you could be introducing them to coaches." Because my dad shared with me that for much of his career, he lived a life of, in his words, quiet desperation, where he felt like he should be enjoying life more than he was, in that he had income and he had a family and, he had all the things he could want, but he still felt like there was something missing. And he didn't discover what that was until he got coaching. And then he was able to enjoy his life. So he said, "If you can do that, go for it." And so for my podcast, I just started getting out there and finding out, okay, who are coaches in the physician space. Bonus if they're Canadians, because my clients are all Canadians. And so then I just started interviewing y'all, like Dr. Key, you're on my podcast, Dr. Blake, you're on my podcast, Dr. Smith, the other presenter on Sunday. And then I just said, let's create an event. Like, let's create an actual event that people can come to and really commit a little bit of time out of their weekend to just come and sit and really glean some things around what can shift in their lives.
Whoops, there we go. I couldn't unmute myself for a sec. So good. This story made such a big impact on me when I first talked to you. I was like, I don't know, like, who is this financial planner guy? What is he up to? And then I heard you starting to talk about your dad, and it just made me think of how many of us are out here fumbling around, like trying to create some kind of other stream of income because we're not thriving in the career. Like, it makes no sense that physicians are not thriving in the career that we're in, right? And so a big part of what we are all teaching is how we can start to enjoy the fruits of our labor, right? I mean, Sarah, she's not here, but she talks about how you can get your work done in fewer hours. So you stop under earning, right? It creates space for you to earn more if you want to see more patients or to just have more life, right? There's like so much power to that. That was totally the result that working with Sarah created for me in my life, was that she was my first coach and she helped me free up 1 to 2 hours of my own time every single day that I was able to use to do whatever I wanted. I ended up using it to create a multiple six-figure business doing coaching because I was so passionate about this, right? I was so passionate about bringing this work to Canadians. I want to make it really clear that even though this is called the Canadian Physician Coaching Summit, all of our friends in medicine all over the world are welcome. So Siobhan, do you want to just say a few words about why this work is important to you, why you decided to take part in this, and then we'll switch over to the bonus content.
Okay, sure. I wasn't sure if I was going to give my tip now or wait, but so I'm Siobhan Key. I'm a family physician and obesity medicine physician in Canada. And I coach physicians on weight loss, but in particular, my passion is helping physicians who kind of, have an idea of how they want to eat, but really struggle with actually doing that consistently, with taking the steps on a day-to-day basis, because there are so many things in our physician lives. And it relates to the other speakers in this summit, that it's the burnout, it's the like constantly always having more work to do that makes it harder to stay focused on your kind of nuts and bolts of your health goals. Like something simple like eating lunch, as we all know as a physician, isn't so simple. Doesn't always happen. Doesn't always, it's not always that there's time to make your own lunch or go to a restaurant. It's you're lucky if you got to pee in the day, right? And so that's my passion, because there really are ways that we can work and just adjust things a little bit without creating a part-time job for ourselves, where it becomes simpler to eat healthy, where you can do it. I'm a huge believer of, if you're not enjoying it, it's not worth it. Like, we as physicians do a lot of stuff that we don't actually want to do. We apply that to our weight loss, where we're just trying to hang in there and just force ourselves to do it. It's not sustainable. It takes too much work, and we don't have that bandwidth. And so I'm a huge believer of, however you decide to lose weight, we design it in a way that you actually enjoy. So imagine how much easier it is to eat the healthy food if you're like, fantastic, I'm so looking forward to that salad that I packed. That's going to be so delicious. That dinner I planned on Wednesday, can't wait till Wednesday because it's going to be so good. Then it becomes way more sustainable with way less work. And that's what I love.
That's my, my legit lived experience. Everybody on this platform knows that I've had some up and down journeys with my weight. I'm on the up right now because I just had a baby earlier this year. But the easiest weight I have ever lost as a person who struggled with my weight my whole life is using these exact concepts that you are talking about, Siobhan, because I've not had to weigh and measure and stress and deprive and all of the things that we do when we want to lose weight, right? That create this yo-yo on and off weight loss. And so true that it was never about the food, ever. Anytime that I've gained weight, it was Galen. He's like, I need to attend this talk.
Definitely.
It was always about the thoughts that I had, right? The emotions I was experiencing, the things I didn't know how to cope with in my life that led me to overeat or to, the journey for me has been asking myself, like, what am I asking this food to do? Which I think is so powerful.
And I think can I add something before you? I always think of like the top themes that drive overeating in physicians, and they completely relate to the summit. Number one is, I'm not enough. I think it's an epidemic, particularly in female physicians, and that we go through our days doing amazing things and feel that we don't measure up in any of those spots. That, and then of course you want to eat at the end of the day. You spend a whole day like working real hard, come home to your kids, and you've judged yourself the entire way that you're not doing it right. Of course it makes you want to eat. The other one is overworked. I'm too far behind. There's too much to do. This totally relates to Sarah's talk. And then those are the two main ones. I'm totally mind blanking on the third one now. It's live video for you, hey?
That'll be the bonus.
Those would be the two ones. Yeah. Hang in there. I'll remember it for Sunday. come Sunday night, you're the third one. But no, I'm not enough and I'm overworked would be like the two biggest ones, honestly. And I think they influence the burnout. They influence, like they're influenced by the charting, and it all connects together.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that right now, because one, I think that this is like amazing bonus content just right here, right? It's like, how often do you say to yourself in the day, I'm not good enough, or some variety of that at all of these different things, right? This is pervasive for women, especially pervasive for high achievers, right? We're always judging ourselves harshly. This is the stuff that's the bread and butter of what I do as a coach who helps people recover from burnout, because this theme touches every area of our life. And, I think I think that the reason you want to attend the summit is because we're going to give you real, practical, actionable things that you can apply to your life and make change from this right away. So you want to attend this knowing full well that if you come and you participate, you're going to get tools that are going to help you address that. I'm not totally sharing what I'm speaking about. I'm going to tell you guys the antidote to to burnout that medical school didn't teach you. And my little teaser to this is that it's something actually you're already really good at doing for other people, but you've never learned how to apply it to yourself because you were taught that you needed to judge yourself harshly to succeed, because you believed that thinking you weren't good enough was like the slap on the wrist you needed to try harder and perform better and hit those goals. And so this is what this is all about, right? So we're going to give you, every time I do any sort of live event, my mission is to make sure that people come away from it with one very actionable step that if they do it, if they choose to apply it to their own life, they will begin to recover from burnout. So I never show up to do anything without giving you something that is going to help you actually make a change in your life. So come, make sure you don't miss this. My why, because I didn't get a chance to share it yet, but you guys all know on this platform my story, but my why is I never want to see another physician die by suicide because of this culture that we are experiencing on a day-to-day basis in medicine. And so I know I can't prevent all, but I want to do everything I can to try to prevent that. And so my goal is always to bring hope. It's always to bring something that, as I said before, that people can take action and really experience change. And if you talk to people who've attended some of these events that we've done in the past, they will share with you that coming to the free event was as valuable as like some paid things that they've attended in the past, because this is the mission that we're bringing here. So, okay, I want to invite Galen, I want to invite you if you want to have anything else you want to add, or if you have any special bonus content that you want to share here from the perspective of what you do. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, so yeah, good question. So anyone who signs up, is at the end, after the summit, given the opportunity to stay on my email list. And if people stay on my email list, they get any notifications about any upcoming webinars that I have. And the big focus of my business is medicine professional corporation planning, helping physicians turn their corporations into pensions. And I came up with this years ago. I put out a survey and it was answered by dozens of physicians. And I asked them, if you had a magic wand to change anything in your finances, what would you change? And the word that came back over and over again was pension. And I got that people want to know that they're going to be okay in retirement. And the other thing that I kept hearing consistently in my first meeting with physicians was, I'm terrified of doing locums in my 70s because I have to, because I made bad decisions with my money in my 30s, 40s, 50s. And the other thing I'm going to say, and this is probably one of the best things I can share with people, is if you are confused about finances, if you're not sure where to go or who to trust when it comes to making the most of your corporation, because there's so much information out there and a lot of it is conflicting, you're not alone. That survey, when I put it out there, 58% of the physicians who answered said that they were unsure as where to start when it comes to financial planning, and they didn't know who to trust. And 80% of the physicians said that they were either not at all confident or only somewhat confident that they were using their corporations efficiently. And for me, that's a very big number. And I think that a lot of physicians quietly don't look at that. They don't know who to open up to about that. And behind closed doors, I will say that everyone who comes to me is like, Galen, I'm not sure if I'm doing the right thing. I'm not sure if I'm most efficient. I'm trying to do it myself. That's the other thing. Last thing I'll say is it's like, I'm a smart person. How come I can't figure this out? And I'm like, because it's really complicated. And the people who are out there, maybe the most vocal, who have figured it out, it's because they've dedicated enormous amounts of time to it. And it's usually a passion of theirs. So it's like, if figuring out investing in insurance is not a passion of yours, you're probably not going to find the time to do it because you just got too much going on. So just
And I just want to
talk
add
to
to
me.
that, Galen, because I think this is really important, right? How all these topics tie in, because I know you're not speaking at the event, right? But you have a heart for helping physicians because of your experience with your father, right? And how
Mhm.
that's affected your family tree. But here's the thing, like when we are burned out, we're cynical, we're hopeless, like think about the kind of decisions you make from that energy. You end up like buying apartment buildings that are a bad investment. Like you end up wanting to feel better. So you buy yourself a really fancy truck that you don't need. Like people do things with money that have a net negative effect in their life when they're in these places of desperation and dread and hopelessness. And so coming and getting some of the skills you need, like all of these topics really are interrelated, because many physicians, right, we buffer our negative feelings about our work with spending on, and I mean, I'm guilty of this too, right? Spending on fancy and luxurious things because we think it's going to make us feel better about ourselves and our life, or we think that we deserve this because we've worked hard. But there are so many other ways to enjoy life and make smart decisions with money when you're coming at it from a different emotional landscape, and you need to learn how to change that for yourself, right? Instead of just like suppressing it and stuffing it all down, which is what medical school teaches us. So this is a big part of what you're going to learn when you attend this summit. Siobhan, do you have more words, more bonus content? You gave us some amazing tips already.
I've always got more words. It's the one thing I've learned from having a podcast for like 2.5 years. I got some words.
An amazing podcast at that. If you're not following this podcast, you need to check it out. It's so good.
So what I was thinking would be a good little tip is just where we have been taught to focus in diet culture and everything when we're wanting to lose weight is on the food, right? Like when you start to think, okay, I want to lose weight, what do you think? What am I going to eat? What diet am I going to follow? We get really focused on individual food choices that we've made. I've messed up, I blew it, all that type of thinking that we have, right? Like I'm supposed to be eating low carb and I had a piece of birthday cake. Well, now it's all out the window. And what I want to pose to you is that's the wrong place to look. We get focused on the food, but when you're focusing on the food and when you're trying to exact change at the food level, it takes a lot more work. That's when you experience that struggle with willpower, when you know the two voices where one's like, oh, I really want that food, and the other one's like, well, I shouldn't, and like we're back and forth and have the tug of war because you're focused right on the food. What I want you guys to think about is think of it as an iceberg. The food is the piece that we see sticking out of the water. Food and exercise, because that's really what we've been taught, right? Eat less, exercise more. Anytime your brain like wants to get up in your face about the food, I want you to say, what is under the water? And this is kind of what you were talking about, Anna, about like, what am I using this food for? And so get curious, get not so worried about what you see sticking out of the water, i.e. what you've eaten or what you're having cravings to eat, but really get curious about, okay, why is this here? What is going on? Like if all of a sudden you have a day and you're eating food you don't normally eat that you didn't plan and you're feeling a bit out of control, if you get really focused on that food, it's going to spiral because you'll start to beat yourself up. You'll feel more out of control, which then will create you being more out of control. I want you to take a step back and go, okay, I'm not going to get too worried about that food. I'm going to get really curious about what's different today. What's led to this? What's going on? What am I thinking about? What am I worrying about? You know, have I had are my basic needs met? Have I had sleep? Have I had a break? Have I had, all these things? And for example, yesterday, I like by the time I finished my office and stuff, I was kind of in one of those like I just don't care mindsets. And I was like, oh, like kind of, it's so easy when you're tired to get down on yourself. But then I looked at it, I'm like, of course, like you've been working, I'd gotten up early to do extra work. Then I'd had like inpatients, office, run to hospice at lunch, more office. Like it was a day that already had been extremely long. Like, of course I was tired. Of course I needed a break. But coming home, I wasn't planning on a break. I was coming home to like do more work. I'm like, okay, like the food then becomes the symptom of you need to do something different. It's a flag your brain is waving of there is an unmet need here, is how I like to think about it. So don't focus on the food, focus on what might be underneath it. And if you can take that approach, it's such a kinder approach. And the big thing, like I said, if you focus on the food, you use your willpower and you get into that back and forth struggle. If you focus on what's underneath, it's like sidesteps that whole argument. You don't have to be in a battle with willpower. You shift. Like last night when I'm like, okay, maybe I don't need to just come home from work and start working again right away. It then just shifted, and then I was able to make a salad instead of all the other things my brain was suggesting we should do for dinner.
Yes, I think there's a common theme under all of this, right? Is that these
Mhm.
things are symptoms of us being in these negative places. And so the reason why you want to come this weekend is because we're going to build these things up like building blocks, right? And then another common practice that a lot of physicians have, right, is procrastinating doing their paperwork and their billing. And that's what Sarah's going to teach us about. She couldn't be here today to join us, but she's going to give you some pearls around that. So I'm going to build the foundation for you, right, that you can use from a mindset perspective to take action in all these areas of your life. And each one of the speakers is just going to build on really how to start making some changes, but using the same systems and the same tools. So
Mhm.
I want to give you real quick, just one little bit of bonus content from me. So I was coaching someone yesterday, and I gave her an invitation to do something that I think is really useful for all of us. And so this is my little bit of coaching pearl here. Okay. So our human brains are hardwired to have a bias to find more of the same. And so when we're feeling really negative about something in our life, we have a tendency to create more negativity. So, example, my client yesterday was talking about how she'd recently put an IUD in a patient and she'd had a perforation. And all her brain could offer her was how from now on, she can never tell a patient that there's this risk of perforation, but I've never had one, that her patient would probably not want her to be the one to do the surgery to remove the IUD from her belly, all these thoughts, right? And we talked about how she's put thousands of these in and it's always gone well. We go into this full well knowing that this complication could be there. We talked to patients about the complication. She was surprised that the patient still wanted her to do the surgery to remove the gone astray IUD. And I said, well, it makes perfect sense if you really start to think about this, right? And what I offered her is the opportunity to consider the impact of if she didn't do what she does. Okay. So when faced with a complication like this, the tendency is to tear ourselves down, to want to change our practice, right? She was feeling like she wanted to ultrasound everybody she put an IUD in. Like this was always going to be a stressful thing for her going forward. But we talked about what the impact would be to her patients. And she said to me these words, which I think are really impactful. She said, but I just want to help people. So I feel really bad when something like this happens because I just wanted to help. And he said, but here's the thing. If you consider the other side of this, right? The ripple effect of if you didn't put IUDs in, okay? For those who don't know, everybody here knows, but Galen might not know. We put these IUDs in to prevent unintended pregnancy and for a lot of women who have like really heavy bleeding and awful periods. And the impact of that is like lost work time, right? Wages, relationships, unintended pregnancies, all of the money that goes into like raising a kid, women having to go through extra procedures like abortions if they have unexpected pregnancies. The impact of this is humongous if you really consider it. So are we willing to accept that there's a chance that we could have one complication for all of that benefit? Like when we consider both sides of the coin, the picture all of a sudden looks really different for us, but our human brain doesn't want to do that. So we have to prompt it to do that a little bit. I then offered her this second tiny little pearl that I'm going to leave you with. I said to her, how would you speak to a colleague who just had this complication? And she told me some of the supportive words, right? Some of the ways in which she would rationalize this, right, as not being a big deal. Some of the ways in which she would highlight how amazing it is that the patient still wants to have this relationship with her, right? They said, there's nothing stopping you from offering those same words to yourself. They are, in fact, what you would want to hear from yourself, because that's the way we always treat other people, is the way we would want to be treated. So that's my little pearl for today for anybody who comes to watch this. And we're going to build a lot more on that in the summit. So last words from either you, Galen, or Siobhan?
I think just, come join. Like, I have a huge amount of respect for both Anna and Sarah. As in the fields that they work, they both coach in my own coaching program, and I do that because I know they're amazing. And so I'm really excited. I think there's going to be so much good stuff in this summit. Don't miss it.
Love it. Galen, last words from you.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Never been more excited about this than after having had the sneak peek at what's going to go down in the summit. And yeah, I'm sure you'll put the link in the chat so people can go to it. It's I'll say it, but it's probably easier to click on it, but it's galenhelpsdocs.com/summit. So GALEN helpsdocs.com/summit, and super excited. Like, I really can't wait even for what I'm going to learn. Like, I know I'm not a physician, but I'm sure I'll learn a lot around mindset. And I mean, both of what you're saying is just like, wow, like this is hitting home in a few different ways. It's a human experience, right? And physicians have a very specific flavor of it, but it is the human experience. So no, very excited.
Totally. And I wanted to say one more thing that I forgot to say earlier. So not just for Canadians, also not just for the ladies. So if any of you out there have dudes in your life that need a little bit of this work, that are physicians, you invite them on over to come and join us, because my platform is all female physicians, but I know that female physicians know a few male physicians as well. So. Okay, thank you to you both for your time today. I'm so glad we were able to give this little bit of bonus content. It was super fun, and we'll see you on Sunday.
See you Sunday.